Hitler frequently intimated that nature was his God. I believe whoever looks into nature with open eyes is the most pious person. In every person lives the ability to form the conception, as far as its rule is concerned, of what one calls God, namely the rule of the laws of nature in the entire universe. If the Christian view of God was correct, then the ant would have to conceive of God as an ant, just as every nature would conceive of God, i.e. providence, the laws of nature in its own form. The church, this temple of idols, will be torn down to make way for the observatory. The heavens proclaim the glory of the Eternal One. Humans can never master nature, but have to submit to its laws. An individual must understand the fundamental necessity of nature's rule and realize how much his existence is subjected to these laws of eternal fight and upward struggle. Then he will feel that in a universe where planets revolve around suns and moons turn about planets, where force alone forever masters weakness, compelling it to be an obedient slave or else crushing it, there can be no special laws for man. For him, too, the eternal principles of this ultimate wisdom hold sway. He can try to comprehend them, but escape them never. Nature dictates moral and social laws to humans, just as it controls the physical laws of the universe. The life of the peoples follows a lawfulness determined by nature. Those who investigate historical developments will discover that human life is dominated by the instincts Providence has given them to procreate and preserve their lives. They will find thereby that the maintaining of human life in general goes no other way than that prescribed by nature. They are the same elementary drives and powers of self-preservation which are also characteristic of all other beings on this earth. They determine the struggle for life and thereby the way of life for humans. Those who think they can escape from natural laws are committing a fallacy and lack historical and scientific knowledge. Only those with such ignorance would try to introduce the paragraphs of a League of Nations or Geneva statutes in the place of a law of almighty nature that has been valid since the beginning of all life on this earth. Humans are subject to nature, who alone dictates morality. For we all are beings of nature which, as far as we can survey, only knows one hard law. We humans cannot extract ourselves from this law. If someone naively tries to evade the laws of nature by saying, "I mean well," nature or providence does not ask about your intentions or your desires, but it operates according to its laws. Here, Hitler equated nature and providence, and he conflated them in the ensuing sentences too, referring to the will of nature, the right of nature, and the eternal laws of nature as being the same thing. Hitler also identified the laws of nature with God in a monologue in November 1941. He explained that he did not know anything about the world beyond this one, Jenseits, but did know something about divinity. Somehow this flows into a knowledge of the helplessness of humanity in the face of the eternal law of nature. It is not harmful if we only come to the knowledge that the entire salvation of humanity lies in trying to comprehend the divine providence and not believing that he can rebel against that law. If people humbly conform to the laws, that is wonderful. In this passage, Hitler equated divine providence with natural laws that are also eternal. All we as humans can do, Hitler claimed, is learn those laws and obey them. A few weeks later, he again warned against thinking that man could somehow supersede nature's laws. Even if they seem harsh, Hitler insisted, people have no recourse but to submit. He conjectured, if one takes his own life, he, as matter and as spirit and soul, returns back into nature. The toad does not know what it was before, and we do not know it about us either. The thing to do, therefore, is to investigate the laws of nature so that one does not set oneself against them. That would be to oppose the firmament. The notion Hitler expressed here, that one's body and soul flow back into nature, smacks of pantheism. The idea that the laws of nature should guide moral action also suggests Hitler saw nature as the source of moral law. According to Hitler's secretary, Christa Schroeder, Hitler often discussed religion and the churches with the secretaries. She testified, "He had no kind of tie to the church. He considered the Christian religion an outdated, hypocritical, and human-ensnaring institution. His religion was the laws of nature. He rejected Christianity and worshipped nature. He even mentioned the law of nature most important to him. In nature, the law of struggle rules from the beginning. Everything unfit for life and everything weak is eliminated." Hitler thus saw nature as a justification for his violent policies. If Hitler's religion was pantheistic, as I have demonstrated, was it closer to mystical or scientific pantheism? In light of Hitler's emphasis on the eternal validity and inescapable ironclad character of natural laws, it seems to tilt more towards scientific pantheism. As we have seen, Hitler believed that cosmic and human history were entirely subject to laws that can be understood scientifically. He specifically rejected mysticism as a source of knowledge. At the 1933 Nuremberg Party Congress, he expressed a deterministic perspective, not only in relation to natural occurrences, but also in human history. He explained that in nature, there are no chance events because everything is subject to the law of cause and effect. Just as humans need to understand the cause of a disease in order to cure it, so they need to comprehend the laws that rule human history. The rise and decline of peoples is not mysterious, Hitler maintained, but it follows from specific causes that people can investigate and understand. This deterministic perspective lines up with many comments Hitler made throughout his career when he pronounced the inevitable sway of natural laws over the affairs of humanity. Hitler's determinism, however, sat in uneasy tension with his stress on willpower. How could one exert one's will if everything in the universe is determined by prior natural causes? It should be noted that many politicians and thinkers, such as Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin, for instance, have shared Hitler's dilemma of how to square determinism with willful action. One way that Nazis as biological determinists and Marxists as economic determinists were able to bridge the determinism-free will divide was to insist that their activity was in line with the inevitable flow of historical developments. In Hitler's perspective, providence, or nature, or fate, or God, was smiling favorably on his efforts, precisely because he was acting in harmony with the inescapable laws of nature. His and Germany's successes did not come from prayer or mystical rites or ceremonies, but resulted in taking action in accordance with the laws of nature. Hitler illustrated this belief when he told officer cadets in Berlin in December 1940 how they could achieve victory. In stirring them up to kill or be killed, he stated, "We can emerge victorious from this arduous battle if only we realize its unchangeable, necessary, and inevitable nature. The individual cannot shrink from it, and it is the fate of the entire Volk. Hence, at this hour, I would like to speak to you on the inevitability not only of this battle, but of struggle as such." In the rest of the speech, Hitler instructed them about the laws of nature applicable to the war they were fighting, and he admonished them to wage war in concert with those insuperable laws. While I freely admit that it is impossible to know with ironclad certainty whether Hitler was a pantheist, panentheist, deist, or theist, it seems Hitler's position was closest to pantheism. When he used language that suggested other positions, it was usually in public speeches, where he was simply using traditional God language to appeal to the religious beliefs of his audience. However, as is evident in many places where he used the terms God and nature interchangeably, he was often employing traditional religious terminology, but defining those terms in non-traditional ways. For Hitler, God was nature.